What was that?
Perfect.
You want to be that guy?
Wow.
Hey, Don Fron, it's great seeing you, bro.
You mythical creature.
You just
You.
made my Monday morning, my man.
That's what I'm here for. Well, I sound like crap. I can barely talk today.
Oh, don't worry, you can sign, bro. You can sign. Just say, mark it this way, mark it that way.
Oh,
Here's the
I know
zone.
about one thing in sign language. That's about it.
Cerveza.
Someone cuts you off on the road, you know one more.
Get a room, guys. Jesus.
Like orange today.
Welcome to DC TV. It is Monday, December 19th, 2022. Looking at the markets right now, it's been all over the place. S&P was hella green this morning, and now everything started to turn almost red. S&P is flat, and the Dow is also just barely turning red as we speak. NASDAQ is also just barely in the green. That looks like it's trying to go red as well. Crude oil sitting at $75 of a barrel. That's up around $1. And then we were looking at Bitcoin as well. That is, it's kind of hard to say if it's green or red right now. It's all over the place too. It's at 16,739 and 81 cents. Those are your numbers. I mean, anything interesting happened over the weekend that we should take note of on the charts?
If you there it is. There's the screen share. We're literally just waiting. We're one news away from capitulation, is my opinion. If you look at where we're standing at this very moment, we have the bearish engulfing, which is that big fat candle that we just had prior to the green one. We held this level for a long time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On the 6th month, we dropped. So now it seems we tried to test it as resistance. So we're just waiting for that. Usually, show me the charts, I'll tell you the news. We're just waiting for those news. What will it be? Could it be what you titled this stream, or could it be something else? But I have buy zones down there designated. We'll see where it takes us. So literally, Bitcoin's waiting to be like, all right, guys, make up your mind. What are we going to do? On the weekly, let me share this here. You can see we rallied up to that resistance, that previous support, now resistance, and it seems we're tracking slowly back down. So that's what we're looking at on the charts itself. One of the charts I wanted at some point, either today or next time we see you, Don, is that absolute bottom trend line you had drawn to where we could reach. Just so we have an idea. So 13,800 is the top of the range I'm looking for. But your bottom, absolute bottom, where it could be scraping. There's no moss on the stone, rock bottom. It'll be just the rocks. I love that chart that you posted out there.
Yeah, depending on how much time we take off. Right now, if we drop straight down and set, we're sitting at 9,300.
9,300. That's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
But as the further we go sideways, the further that thing scans up a little bit. Which I gotta say, I love the title of this stream. Rolling in a little bit late, I was almost going to interrupt. Say it's Binance. I heard, I shared it on Twitter the other day. You guys saw that interview? Disaster.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're going to be talking about later on today. So make sure you guys are tuning in. We're going to be talking about that interview, as well as the auditing firm that was performing the audit actually just jumped ship too. So
and quit auditing.
Yes.
I got out of the business.
Not quit auditing crypto. So we're going to get into more of the specifics there, as well as Sam Bankman-Fried agreeing to be extradited, potentially. And then also Elizabeth Warren is coming back after crypto on the bill. We're going to be talking about that bill as well, getting into that conversation. So make sure you guys are sticking around. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe. And just getting back to our conversation on this. So consensus is that we still haven't yet quite seen the bottom. Is that what I'm gathering?
Yes,
I think so. Yeah,
same here.
And
we're green, just like short. Anything green today and tomorrow, I'm going short.
Yep. So in the traditional markets, then Don, no Santa Claus rally. It's all coal and stockings this year.
Well, Santa Claus is coming. He's got puts in the bag. Something's gonna rally.
Yeah, Santa knows how to trade this shit.
So all right. Good stuff, guys. So again, guys, if you guys want to react to our poll here, I would certainly appreciate it too. Just wanted to get a good sense of do you guys use Binance or not? Damn it, I was trying to hold it back. Couldn't hold it back. But if you guys wouldn't mind participating in the poll, we'd love to hear from you guys there as well. And let's get into some of the odd news today. So, I mean, if I had my choice, would I rather be met with the Grinch and some onions if I was speeding, or would I rather get a ticket? I think my answer is I'd rather just get some onions, and that's what's happening here. If you guys haven't, this might surprise you, but it is a Florida man.
Oh damn, sweaty in there.
This is
it's really rare to have a Florida guy do something weird.
I know.
Yeah.
So this is Marathon, Florida. Several motorists who were speeding through an elementary school zone in the Florida Keys Overseas Highway received an odorous onion as a reminder to slow down from County Sheriff's deputy dressed as the Grinch. There's a couple of photos here. This is weird as shit. Can you imagine being pulled over and then the Grinch shows up just to hand you a goddamn onion?
This guy's all shameful on the newspaper.
Yeah, I try to be that guy.
This guy tries to speed in school zones. That's a bigger shame than a ticket, you know.
Yeah,
they must have gotten both, by the way, especially if they're doing way over the limit.
I don't know. It says drivers who travel about 5 miles an hour or less above the school zone speed limit can choose between traffic citations and an onion presented by the Grinch. Those speeding beyond likely receive the costly ticket. So there you go, Jaime. It's
Onion all day long.
So you get a warning or an onion, I guess. It's about education, awareness, and our school zones and are still operating even though it's the holiday season. This is from the officer says we wanted people to slow down. It catches them off guard, I would say. But when I give them a clear choice of citation or the onion, they will take the onion, and I've had them eat the onion right in front of me. Ugh.
Oh,
Is it regular white onion? I have no problem.
I can't.
No, these are yellow. These are stinky yellow onions.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey did that in the movie, by the way. He just crunched down a apple like an onion.
And that's why
onion like an apple.
Yeah.
You know how many tickets I've gotten? That'd be such a nice break.
You'd eat the onion
all day.
Get Don for on a Vespa. Stop speeding. You can't even hit the speed limit.
I would almost break the speed limit just to get an onion from the Grinch. I feel like I probably would do that.
Just one over though, just to make sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm not doing 80 in a school zone.
Yeah. I am not a fan of people who speed with kids around. Like when people speed down my street. I'm like this.
Yeah, I was shoveling rocks and it looks like one bounced in the street. Sorry, buddy.
Oh yeah, my shovel went through your windshield.
Yeah, really sweaty accident. So
yeah, exactly. Guys, so that was your WTF news of the day. Just some lighthearted holiday news. So we're gonna get into this Binance debacle. There's a lot to unpack here, especially since we've kind of been, I don't want to say champions of Binance and CZ, but we've certainly shown a lot of support for Binance and what CZ has done up to this point. And now it kind of feels like things are a bit rocky. We're going to talk about that and give our thoughts all the way around on that topic, as well as an interview that CZ had with CNBC that makes things even more sus. He didn't do himself any favors. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. But before we do, make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe. Also, the link is in the description if you want to continue our conversations that we have here on the show and our Discord. It's absolutely free to join. Just click on the Discord invite link down below, and we'd love to have you guys as a part of our community. Okay, so as I had mentioned, CZ had a interview with not so fast. Goddamn. Had an interview with CNBC talking about basically their solvency and do they have the ability to basically give back the money that investors have put into Binance if they all wanted to take it out at the same time, similar to what we saw with FTX, whereas FTX didn't have those funds and they were insolvent, and that's what created their own bankruptcy. and then uncovered a lot of things, right? Uncovered obviously the blatant fraud that was taking place and whatever else. Now, I'm not saying that CZ is in that same boat, but there is some questions now of whether or not CZ was using or is using investor funds to support other ventures. And so that's going to be part of the conversation we have today. But first, I wanted to kind of show you the parts of the interview that was taking place over at CNBC. Some of this is actually quite funny, as it was from a Twitter account that I posted within our own Discord. So make sure you guys just take a look at this real quick for about a minute. Oops.
No audio.
Standard for reliability, solidness in the space.
Do it. Would you be able to handle it if somebody asked you for $2.1 billion back? Would that be okay? Would you be able to still withstand things?
We're financially okay.
Including you have $2.1 billion to give away. If somebody came to claw that back, you'd still be fine?
We'll let the lawyers handle it. We are financially strong.
Well, what a lawyer handle.
Even after
actually, yes, no question, but
last year, we had $500 million worth of it. $580 million worth of it on the day when we transferred from the address we received a year and a half ago. We never touched it. We actually kind of forgot about it.
But thus far, you haven't disclosed your liabilities. And I wonder why that is and whether you will.
Yeah, so we are working with firms to do the audited financials, liabilities, etc. But the audits don't reveal every problem. So
no, but an audit from a Big Four auditor would reveal that, CZ. If you could get a Big Four auditor to say that, if you're saying that some of them don't want to work with you, that raises questions too. They don't want to work with you because you don't have the files and the data that would make them feel comfortable signing off and giving that stamp of approval.
Actually, many of them don't even know how to audit crypto exchanges. They don't really when they audit, they're very used to auditing a firm.
Does Coinbase, CZ, Coinbase has a Big Four. Coinbase has a Big Four auditor?
Actually, I don't look at Coinbase. We don't really look at
I think so, though.
I don't know the details.
So they understand it well enough.
Deloitte is the auditor for Coinbase.
So they can figure.
You have some experience. Would you be able to handle it if somebody asked you for $2.1 billion?
All right, so you guys get the idea. CZ was scrambling that entire interview and kind of like was super dodgy with all the questions. And for me, I call bullshit on a couple of things. One of the things was that crypto firms should be audited differently than a regular firm, which liabilities are liabilities no matter what business you're in, at least in my opinion. And I don't understand that type of response at all. And audits reveal everything. So if CZ has been preaching about transparency and everything else, then why should having a full-blown audit rather than just showing proof of reserves be such a problem for him? And why is he being so dodgy about it?
So they're trying to apply traditional finance to the crypto space. So for example, as a bank or an exchange, as a bank, you get to fractional reserves. You get $10 and you can multiply that in loans out. And of course, the risk by doing that is there can be a bank run when those 10 others try to go collect their money that you just pulled out of the thin air. Mm-hmm. So it's a difficult proposition, or we just have to get to the point, or crypto overall has to get to the point where they can actually demonstrate or do the liabilities in a almost translate it to traditional, because in the crypto world, the way CZ, my understanding is, they built it to where it's 1-to-1. So if whoever's put money in, they can pull it back out. And there's been billions being pulled out in the last few weeks, as we've seen. The key is, or the challenge here is, how do you do an audit? And that question that we had just mentioned, how there's an attempt to an audit and the organization that was doing it even quit auditing crypto overall, got out of the industry itself, yet they still do audits. So there's something going on back there that is right. We have to see what that means.
And that's you're referring to Mazars auditing firm, one of the Big Four. you guys saw the other one in that interview that Coinbase has takes place with their auditing, which, you know, again, if Coinbase can do it, Binance should be able to do it. That's
Correct.
at the end of the day, that's why I was like, this seems really fishy and really odd. One of the other questions that was asked of CZ was whether or not you used customer funds. And again, dodging that question too, and just being really wordy about it when it was a simple yes or no question. So it's kind of like now he's being grilled about this kind of stuff. And I'm not saying that it is Sam Bankman-Fried like answers, but they're definitely not good answers. And he hasn't been handling this very well at all.
Yes or no, followed up with, we'll let the lawyers figure it out.
Right.
Not a good look.
I from my perspective, though, he's trying to follow his lawyer's legal advice. They're like, hey, we need to do an internal audit at the same level to make sure we are exactly where we need to be, is my guess. And he's just following his lawyer's good advice, unlike Sam Bankman-Fried, who just blabs in spite of his lawyers telling him to shut the hell up and puts himself in a hole.
It's not doing him any favors, right? I mean,
I'm not arguing that at all.
Like,
I'm saying he's simply being by the book.
Yeah. He's being by the book, but also being contradictory. And I'll use another example. He said that they don't owe anyone, but they have leverage. So if you don't owe anyone anything, so you haven't taken a loan out on anything, especially with customer funds, where's the leverage coming from? What are you leveraging? And what money are you leveraging? Where did the $5 billion come from that you invested in on Twitter? Like, why can't we know that information if you claim to be as transparent as you say that you are?
So when you stake within Binance, my understanding is you're actually, unlike staking outside in a node traditionally, you're actually staking liquidity for liquidity. So it's customers choosing to stake their tokens that they've deposited to provide liquidity for the leverage. So if you think about it, it is using customer funds, but it's the customers approving that they use their funds for this staking to provide liquidity, if that makes sense. So I can see where the legality comes into play of, okay, this isn't done, let's say, by Coinbase. Coinbase got shot down for doing staking, where the SEC even threatened them for doing that. So that's where the big questions are arising now. It's like, okay, there's no legal framework for it, yet it's being done, but it's outside of US jurisdictions versus FTX was doing it. But of course, we all know what they were doing with the funds on top of the liquidity aspect of it. Right. But truly, there was no liquidity. There were all IOUs versus CZ. So far, if you want your funds out, no one's had any problems pulling their funds out. It's gone into the billions so far. So I think it's a lack of regulatory clarity. Coinbase was building under regulatory scrutiny, making sure you're not commingling funds, you're not doing these things. So they built it under US law of what was available on the corporate side. Binance has gone to friendly crypto jurisdictions, but there's a lot of freedoms, quote unquote. It very risky or not, that's remains to be determined once there is a full audit of his liabilities versus his proof of reserves and everything else, and brought it all into a single picture. So yes, my concern is Binance, is there a shot across the bow that's about to occur from the government in such a way that will trigger this last leg down because of this struggling to explain or struggling to demonstrate, or just not opening up the books? Because the other risk, if I were in his shoes and I open up all my books, it's like it's a target for competitors and others to go after it and hit the jugular and bleed the company out because they know where the problems lie. Yes.
I think that's certainly a risk. But again, we're talking about CZ and his communication with like the public via Twitter, talking about transparency and how important that is.
Correct.
So is it only important when it's convenient or when you may not be at risk? Like, so I guess my big question is, you are a user of Binance, is that correct?
I've used them, yes.
Okay, so you have used them, but do you? So And on this channel, we've all kind of been in CZ's camp. After these past couple of weeks, do you have genuine concerns about Binance and what could be happening under the hood, or do you think this is more FUD than anything?
It's a blend of the two. So of course, trust but verify. Well, I trust that my cold wallet is where my funds should be. So I do
Dirty
that.
Shovel Gang. Yeah.
There you go.
If you don't have a ledger yet, please do yourself a favor. We have a link in the description. Get yourself a ledger. Do it right now if you don't have one. Like, get a ledger. Because if this Binance stuff goes sideways and your crap's there and you come crying to DCTV, we're gonna tell you, hey man, that really sucks. Did you get a ledger? You're gonna say, nah, dude, I wish I did.
Yeah.
So, but
finish your thought.
Looking at so how does an exchange should an exchange make money? Is through the transaction fees. So that's the mechanism. So you can see that, or you can hear, we haven't seen that he has not over leveraged these funds because the leverage is what killed the other one, where they just transform it into IOUs and bought condos, bought everything else with it. So Binance should be acting with fiduciary responsibilities with their depositors' money, their investors' money, and the only way to prove that is through, of course, transparency. So that's the shoe I believe this will be that trigger, or it could be something coming in from left field. But in terms of what Binance has been building, yes, I actually believe in what they've been building. Like they even built a DEX, which is a decentralized exchange, but it just didn't have the volume. They realized that the centralized exchanges where people are familiar with it, so they'd rather send it there. But the fact that you can pull your funds and no one's had any issues pulling out, it should tell you that, okay, he's building it correctly. The key is, okay, why are you hesitating? Why are you bringing in attorneys, looking at it from an external point of view of why the shiftiness, or not direct yay, nay, you know what, and give a reason for it instead of deferring to the attorney. So there must be something going on from the attorney side with governments at this very moment. And we already know that part of our government's threatening to go after him already in this moment. Is just waiting for that announcement to occur. So I can see why he backs himself into the attorneys, let them handle it. But yes, no, it does not inspire confidence. I'll tell you straight up. Like, is it safe there? No, that's why I moved things to the ledger.
Has Binance shut down withdrawals yet?
No,
not once, even for a little.
Well, if there's a hack that's occurred, or if there's any like USDC, they said, hey, convert it over to BUSD, and that you can send that one out, or convert it to something else. There's been scenarios with those, but they actually declare what's going on. So USDC,
but nothing recent with like a run on and they're pulling anything out.
There's been a run, meaning a lot of people are pulling these
in
funds.
Binance.
In Binance, yes.
Yeah. Okay. The Binance hasn't shut anything down. They haven't paused withdrawals.
No. No, not in terms of clients and pulling their assets out. No, there hasn't been. They've delivered. And you can see it through Twitter that no one's been like, bro, I got my millions, or whatever it is. No one's declared that. There's been moments over the weekend because USDC still works on bank time. USDC, the token itself, which is, I think, a Goldman Sachs and Circle token. They couldn't get those until they got clarification or clearance from the New York. But outside of that, no. Anything to do with tokens and Bitcoin and everything else, with the run that's occurred, no one's come onto Twitter saying I'm blocked or they refuse to release it.
Don, you seem like you had something else to say. Was there anything else that you wanted to add to this?
Yeah, I'm sorry. No, just in general, all of that sounded very, very shifty, very weird. It was the first time I even just watching that, I thought, oh, so this is clearly going to be the next situation. Like, this is where it crumbles. I wonder how much I haven't looked at any balance sheets or are they even available. How much Bitcoin do they own? Or do we know?
I'm not sure. I know they own a shit ton of it.
Yeah, it was in
They
the
own a lot.
thousands. It was in the thousands. When they declared their proof of reserves, it was up there. And looking at it from a business, if what Binance is saying is true, what CZ is saying, he says, we do not, like they themselves as a company do not over leverage. They're relying on the staking of their clients to create that liquidity. So it's by decision of the stakers to do it.
Yeah.
They are not taking out. So it's 1-for-1 everything he's been doing, which means that when you pull out, where will they make their money is in the transaction fees. You buy, you sell, and that's where their billions are made, because it's not just US. These aren't US clients. This is global company where you have clients from all over the world transacting. And they use BNB as the transaction to pay fees so you can get it discounted. So that's what provides their liquidity also. The big question is, if everyone pulls out, of course, no business can sustain itself with no clients transacting. So I think that's where the bottleneck's going to occur once this whole second shoe drops and the scare occurs. People start yanking even more out.
Yeah.
Hopefully he has the capital to sustain it, to show, hey, look, there isn't this Ponzi scheme that occurred with SBF, for example, or the FTX fiasco. But that remains to be seen. I see a bottleneck occurring, a scare occurring, a freeze a little bit, like people watching, okay, is this shit going to fall, or are we done here?
Yeah.
And if it still stands, then I can see people going back in to, you know what, let me get some Matic, let me get some DOT, let me get some this, and still using the centralized exchange to do the transactions, and then move it back out, but at least his model will continue working.
Yeah, I think that's gonna have a lot
use
of people
6 for the transactions.
What'd you say, Don?
I think this whole thing has a lot of people on edge with FTX. Everyone's just waiting. The fact that this is even a conversation of, is this one gonna be next? Like, the people that haven't already gotten their crypto off, they're literally watching for that red candle, and they might be thinking, maybe this holds, I'll be fine. If Bitcoin for some reason hits this level, then I'm out. Everyone's going to have their choke point, whether they move it to cold storage or say, F it, I'm out. And so I'm curious to see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, another red flag, and we mentioned it at the top of the story, was Mazars. Mazars is one of the big 4 accounting firms that would do auditing for these cryptocurrency exchanges, such as Crypto.com, KuCoin, and Binance, of course. But they pulled out of everything. They basically said, we quit. In a statement, a Mazar spokesperson told Yahoo Finance that they paused activity relating to provisions of proof of reserves reports for entities in the cryptocurrency sector due to concerns regarding the way that these reports are understood by the public. They noted that proof of reserves reports are performed in accordance with the reporting standards relevant to an agreed upon procedures report. They do not constitute either an assurance or an audit opinion on subject matter. Instead, they report limited findings based on agreed procedures performing on the subject matter at a historical point in time. So basically what they're saying is that, at least from what I'm seeing, is that Mazars goes in, they want to pull an audit, and companies like Binance, Crypto.com, or the like, we're like, well, you can have access to these files, but you can't have access to these files. And rather than just opening up everything, they only give them the parts that they need. So it's almost kind of like they're cherry picking certain numbers to make them look good, at least from the perception of what I'm seeing from Mazars. I'm not saying that that's exactly what's happening, but given what Mazars is speaking to, that is according to them. They also pulled off all of their crypto reports from its website, full blown, deleted them. So they are really out as of right now, which is also very concerning, considering that Binance was in the spotlight, and Mazars is like, you know what, we're just out.
Right. Overall, from crypto report,
yeah. But like, Binance was the last people they dealt with, so it just seems weird. It's like,
right.
It could be that it was just the entire industry and they just wanted out of the whole industry. But when Binance was the last people that they dealt with, and then they were like, "Oh, we're out," That's just another piece of the puzzle that kind of seems weird.
Right. Yeah, and there's no denying that. And to answer Codebug's comment, they just bought Voyager also. So Binance continues to do business as usual. The big question is, okay, why are these blocks like the audits? Why are we struggling with those? What are the risks? Like, if they could come out and speak that, here's the reasons why, or this is what's happening, to create that clarity, that transparency that we keep saying here on the channel. Like, with transparency, there shouldn't be any issues.
Right.
So now we're getting to financials, like nitty gritty, and we see hesitation. That has to be clarified, and it has to be clarified in such a way where it provides beyond a shadow of a doubt. But the fact that you see auditors like, bro, I'm out of crypto overall.
Yeah.
And I guess it's because they actually tried to audit the leader, the market leader, global leader, and they're triggered out.
Yeah.
We just have to wait and see what the hell is going to come out of all this. That report, the final report, and my concern as this happens is I don't want over-regulation on this side to occur to the point where it's guaranteed to crush it.
Yeah.
Not Binance. I'm saying the industry in itself.
Right.
And because
that's going to be a topic that we're going to get into in just a moment, guys. But make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, hit that like button. We're going to continue this conversation moving forward, because I think that we're not done seeing the end of this as far as the Binance stock is concerned. I gotta imagine that, looking at that interview and some of the other things that have taken place, that CZ's got to be kicking himself watching that back. I mean, I certainly would be. I feel like I would have had at least better answers. The last question I'll have about this, and then we can move on, Jaime or Brandon, whomever wants to answer this, was could you see or did you see something like this coming out of Binance? Does this surprise you at all, I guess?
So a quick one on my side. I've seen CZ from the moment he launched Binance, and I've tracked his track record overall. And I've been very happy with what he's done with the industry itself, providing liquidity, and even the term SAFU, which is your funds are safe, where he provided a capital to, if there were any hacks, that people would not lose their shirt like Mt. Gox did. So he's building, and he's building really fast and hitting so many governments, so many countries, and so many banks, just molding himself as an industry leader. So seeing a reaction like this brings me, and I'm with Just in Time also, it's like, I want the man to succeed, not because of him personally, but for the overall industry, because a lot of, even Matic came out, it was launched through Binance. So a lot of the real world solutions we're seeing came through Binance because of their participation. And as a industry leader, it's not surprising to see, like, they funded FTX. Well, if you come with a good pitch deck saying, hey, I have this app I'm about to build where everybody can do all of their transactions out of this one app, buy, sell, whatever, then as an investor, you're like, okay, so you can see why he's exposed to even the FTX thing. But when you start seeing dubious things occurring, he's like, you know what, we're just going to get rid of the FTX. We're no longer interested. And that triggers a whole wipeout, and then uncovers a shit ton of IOUs with no backing and commingling of funds, and just exposes the rot in there.
Yeah.
My concern is, yes, I do have concerns in terms of, I hope he remains standing and can clarify this. Otherwise, overall, maybe Bitcoin will be the only survival after this implosion. I don't think it will be, just because there's so many fantastic solutions coming out of and each token is specialized in certain solutions that will be the next iteration of the internet, of Web3. So no, I'm not. If there's a reason he's holding back, based on my track record on seeing him, there must be a good reason for it. There's something going on in the background that we're not aware of that he should and must declare later of here's why.
Yeah.
But just because of the man, by the fruits you know the men saying, I trust the guy more than I do our legislators coming up that receive all these donations from FTX. That's my only 2 cents. Outside of that, man, I just hope it's all true.
Yeah, we largely agree. What's that, Brad?
I was just saying, making the assumption that, well, I won't say making the assumption, but just a mere mention that Bitcoin could be the only survivor out of this is an interesting take, Jaime. I like it. I love it. I'm here for it. But go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah. This whole thing highlights the fact that centralized exchanges are passing away, period. Because even if he comes out and shows that, like, hey, here's the reasons we couldn't talk about it until this legal matter was completed, what have you, it still highlights, like, what if that wasn't the case, right? Well, we shouldn't have to have so much trust in a centralized entity for a decentralized environment. Like, this is just a bad architecture. This is a growth problem, right? This is the industry hasn't caught up to what is possible type of issue. And I do think CZ and Binance in general have been leaders in the space. They have shown they've followed best practices and they've set best practices over the years. So I would be shocked to find that there's nonsense going on. That's not to say that it couldn't be the case. And either way, this should just be a wake-up call for everybody to be prioritizing decentralized solutions over centralized solutions, even if it requires a little bit more sophistication on our part. That's my take.
Good stuff, guys. No, I think it's great. Again, like I said, we're going to continue this conversation as we move forward, because I just think that there's definitely more that's going to be coming out of this. This story's not over. So make sure you guys are staying tuned. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Also, make sure you're getting joining us over at our Discord. The link is in the description. It's absolutely free to do that, and we'll continue the conversations there. Moving on, I did want to talk about briefly that Sam Bankman-Fried has agreed, or is planning to agree. I don't think we got official word on that. Is planning to agree to reverse his decision on contesting extradition, and that he did not want to be extradited. And apparently, Bahamian jail is not a fun place to be.
Rastafari.
But he let everybody in the Bahamas take their money out. So he basically guaranteed they would have their money first. So you think he'd feel safe in that area.
Yeah.
But he's not used to the maggots and all the stuff that is known in those tropical countries. It ain't no USA prison. Just ask the Wolf of Wall Street, bro.
Yeah. This is Genevieve Rockdector, who's a former $100 million money manager seen on Bloomberg, Fox, and Vice. She's CEO of Grit Capital. She actually shared out a tweet here. She said that Sam Bankman-Fried would rather spend face 115 years in prison rather than spend one more day in a Bahamian prison. You got to wonder though too. Is this because it's a white collar crime, and we've talked about this briefly on this channel too. Like, white collar criminals don't necessarily face the same type of treatment in jail as some of your other criminals. You got to wonder if maybe perhaps someone's in Bankman-Fried's head about that too, especially given the conditions I'm sure he's dealing with in a Bahamian prison at the moment. But that's the skinny right now on the SBF saga and where we're at with it right now. All right, so moving on, I wanted to get into, as I had mentioned before, some of the issues, and we touched on this on Friday with Brandon and Don. But now that you're here, Jaime, too, I want to get kind of some of your thoughts. But Elizabeth Warren moving in on some of the, or I guess making strides towards the Digital Asset Anti-Money Laundering Act, saying that I'm not going. She mentioned she was interviewed by this about this. This is a bipartisan bill co-sponsored by Senator Roger Marshall, who's a Republican in Kansas, and she had said, I'm not going to go over to the bill by point here, but if passed, the bill will require anyone who maintains public blockchain infrastructure to register as a financial institution. This includes software developers or anyone validating transactions on a network. These FIs will be required to do things like collect the personal information of people who use their software and comply with anti-money laundering programs to block funds related to crime, On top of that, it would be any interaction with privacy tools like Tornado Cash, which is sanctioned by the Treasury Department, and privacy coin protocols, including Monero or Zcash. On its face, the bill doesn't necessarily feel problematic, especially because it was drafted in the wake of the FTX collapse. But there's a thing about the bill that misses the point. The point being that a lack of corporate controls and opaque systems led to FTX's bankruptcy, not someone like me relaying Bitcoin transactions with the computer sitting in my living room. This is from an article by the CoinDesk. I thought those are some interesting points to make. I give you men the floor.
The biggest bottom line is full control and of the finances of transactions, like full visibility, full control, where they could actually even cripple a business industry by this. We're no longer in control of our own value.
Yeah,
it would be absolutely.
It looked as if it doesn't solve any other issue that we're dealing with right now, and that is like you can't take your money out without telling people why you're taking your money out.
Yeah, which is the banks doing it.
Exactly, and so this is exactly what this looks like to me. It's just more of the same coming from legislation.
America was founded by everyone fleeing that type of control from England back in the day.
Right.
Where you just couldn't breathe. Like they were trying to squeeze every single penny out of you, and the Tea Party and everything else that occurred afterwards. And here we are, 200 years later, falling into the same hole again. Where is the trust of the citizen doing their job? Pay, to Caesar what's due to Caesar and everything else by doing right. And now,
well, are the citizens subservient to our political officials, or are we electing them to serve us? Because the way that the U.S. Constitution frames things is that our public servants are servants. They serve the people. It's not the other way around. But unfortunately, so few people understand their basic constitutional rights that they don't know how to assert them with dignity. And if you don't use them, you lose them.
Right. And now we're seeing that reversal to where they are our overlords and they are dictating and questioning us. The ones that we vote them to take care of us, they're the ones questioning us. I don't think you're being honest here. And instead of this, make everything public.
This is just as ridiculous as reporting anything over $600 through Venmo. This is just as ridiculous as that. There's a couple other things in this bill that I wanted to kind of point out too. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and their hard forks would be classified as commodities and other tokens as securities. You guys have any thoughts on that? Does that make sense to you or no?
Say that one again.
So part of the bill, there's several things in this, as most bills are. But one of the things was that Bitcoin, Ethereum, and their hard forks will be classified as commodities and other tokens as securities, which to me, and I'll just go first, to me, I think Ethereum is an interesting one to make a commodity, considering that most people use Ethereum to transact with versus something like Bitcoin, right? You're buying Bitcoin and you're just hodling. You're not usually buying something with it. Whereas Ethereum is designed, the use case is to make transactions with, not necessarily to just hold. So the Bitcoin argument for assets makes sense, but I'm not quite sure I'm there with the Ethereum side of things. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Ethereum was ex post facto. Ethereum used to fit a broker dealer type relationship with Vitalik as a CEO, and I'd say that now on paper at least they probably do fit closer to what Bitcoin is, not completely close because there's still a lot of potential backdoors too. I think it depends on what their source of truth is. If their source of truth is the white papers and what they claim, then maybe that's true. If their source of truth is anecdotal examples of how things were acted outside of the white papers, spelling out the letter of the law, I'd say it's probably a security. But
yeah, and they're doing the Howey test. Did you raise this or mint this to raise funds to build your business, and are you expecting profit from it? Is that how he tests? So that's where it's a fine line. To me, it's a new industry, so there are no exact precise laws for this type of industry just yet. But trying to shove one rule on top to fit a square peg into a round hole in terms of what this is, there are certain tokens that try to separate. They create one token, like it happened with Helium, where they called it the security token, meaning this is where the investors put their money in, but the token that I use here is for the transactions internal of validation validation of data, security of data. It's a functional one versus a investment one. So I think clarity in legislation should come through to support the growth, not the hindrance of it. Because now, let's say if it is a security, what the hell are we going to do backtracking? Like, in terms of what's been done so far, are fines coming for everyone who got involved? Or what's going on here? So
yes,
we should tread cautiously, or the government should, the people we elect to take care of us, should look at this from a perspective that won't stop the innovation, but bring it under a reasonable control where there aren't cheats, there aren't launderers, there aren't all these others that abuse it for their own benefit and that sacrifice the industry itself. I think that's, go ahead.
Which is a great segue to my next question, my next point. So you're talking about innovation and throttling that. And, part of this bill also has the prohibition of fiat-based stable coins and privacy coins. So we've talked to, I think this is directly related to, and there's no confirmation, but directly related to what happened with Do Kwon and that whole saga. But basically, what they're saying is that no person may issue, use, or permit to be used to be used to a digital asset fiat-based stablecoin that is not approved by the Secretary of the Treasury. The subsection of the new law reads, getting into approval of the U.S. Treasury will be a tall order, especially when considering the U.S.'s relatively hostile stance towards crypto. And we've heard that from Janet Yellen multiple times. It seems that the bill is trying to put a stop to the use of stablecoins, likely due to the fact that their use case is somewhat similar to the so-called digital dollar, and that the new regulation also outlaws the use of privacy coins such as Monero, and I saw somebody asking about Monero in our chat, and proposes sanctions of up to $250,000 and up to 5 years of imprisonment for their users. Additionally, anonymizing services such as those based in the Mixer, CoinJoin, and CoinShuffle technologies are also prohibited and sanctioned in the same way as privacy tokens. To me, this looks like they're directly attacking the Do Kwon situation. Does that make sense?
Yes, they're attacking privacy too. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Like,
there is some risk with the stable coins, right? I mean, we've seen that. To me, it seems as if they're on the right track, but they're going too far. Does that make sense?
Correct.
At least with the stablecoin side.
So, for example, when you go to Las Vegas, you can't drop dollars in there. You literally buy tokens that are pegged to the US dollar.
Right.
So this is the same thing. So will they now forbid tokens in Las Vegas? Because there should not be anything that's tied to that's what they're literally saying here. There should be audits where, hey, if I bought these many tokens, the casino can pay me back in dollars what I just gave them, So there should be that type of legislation, but not a forbiddance. Now, why is there a forbiddance? To me, it's a sign of, okay, CBDCs are coming and no one can replace it. Your token in the Vegas casino will be my CBDC that I can see who took it, where it's going, how it's used, and there's no more, they're literally taking control of your own value for you, to protect you, to give that visibility. So it's very unnerving as an individual. It's almost like, hey, don't trust me, just take control of my assets.
Yeah. So that language itself makes it impossible to use private cryptocurrencies as legal tender. And which again lays the groundwork for those CBDCs. If you guys aren't familiar, it's a central bank digital currency. We're starting to see that take place with the digital dollar. You guys have heard Janet Yellen as well as Jay Powell also talk about that too. Is this will grant the Federal Reserve the authority to issue a form of digital USD and to track all transactions of the new blockchain-based Federal Reserve note. Other major countries are also working towards the goal of issuing their version of CBDCs, with China including the creation of the digital yuan in its latest 5-year plan, and the European Union working on a digital euro to fruition. This is bad news, in my opinion, because they are going to be able to track everything that you do all the way down to the penny.
Yes. And if you don't use it, you can't transact. Is literally what's going to happen. They're going to do away with cash, guys.
They already do track everything. What I question is on this note. So if you guys know, the dollar never actually moves. Since the dollar is the dominant currency, the dollar is always the dollar. If we were to switch, like all the other currencies just go up and down compared to the dollar. If we were to switch, all of a sudden everyone's crypto. It's super decentralized now. Where's the dominancy? What's worth what? Who makes those decisions? And if you say the people, I'm going to say that's stupid, because that's not how things would actually work, and things would just fail. So like, who makes those decisions if everything is decentralized and doesn't have a clear owner or a leader like that?
Correct. Yes, that's the risk. And if there is so petrodollar is what the dollar is based out of. So there's some basis. There's got to be a baseline somewhere, so everyone else can work towards that baseline or off of that baseline in what they do, reduce their value so they can export more. There's many ways of using the dollars for this. Like you say, decentralized. Okay. Shit, what's our standard we're going to run against? Well, of course, the United States has that I don't know how to hegemony, Hege. Well, it's the standard, the global standard. So everybody, no matter what country you go to, that's where they use that as I will pay this much tokens for this asset because I know in dollars it means this, which is my standard. So the fact that they're removing everything else from it and trying to force this standard, that's why you see organizations like BRICS, which is Russia and a few others, trying to launch their own against the dollar, competition against the dollar, is because it gets to the point where there's so much control that they can even yank it from you. And I think that's where the problem is going to lie. Okay, we can't go to multiple tokens, like you said, Don, in terms of where's the standard? What is this worth? But we can't go to full dollar where it's completely visible, no matter what country, where you are, or you can even account for it. And a CBDC, per concept, they have full control. They can actually yank it, even if it's in an account, yank it back through the smart contract. So that's the risk of this all.
Yes, basically it just takes away the cash option.
Yes.
We can already yank funds out of your account anyway. They can always come up with an excuse now. Why would they be so, don't play devil's advocate here. Why would they be just so inclined to take all the money out of your account? Like, why did they single you out of everybody? Like, what are you doing? You stealing all their avocados?
So in the case, or let's say another country, another, I don't know, a country that they're having issues with, now they have to go to a world organization to freeze the assets, like they did with Russia, for example. With the CBDC, they can actually yank the asset without anybody else having a say to it. So it's one level deeper in terms of what can be taken. That's the problem with the CBDCs. Not just because you stole their avocados, but they can actually completely leave you naked in terms of you to transact anything, not just freeze the asset, but you can't even open an account or move anything. So the total control is what keeps me awake, is the fact that now this person that's supposed to, or this organization that's supposed to take care of us, make sure we're good, prosperous society, now can be like a vigilante state and be like, no, I do not agree with this. Let's get out. Like, look at what happened with Twitter and what is happening with Twitter. It's like, depending on who's in control, it's who's throttled, who's not. So why should a government be deciding what's good or not for us?
Well, that's what we'd like them to do. I mean, that's a whole other conversation in itself. Real quick for I guess a crypto nerd can answer this. Is there a cash with this? Now, this would give access to all coins across the board. What is the new cash option? The off exchange, the I'm going to buy drugs,
blood plasma, and stem cells.
the pure, what do you call it? The pure kind?
The black market currency is what you're asking for.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, so if they had this and there was all this control, what would be the new cash?
It's always going to be related to the dollar. So let's say Bitcoin could be it. Even tokens can be it.
Like, so you're saying they can only strip the USD, the coin they make from you. They can't strip your Bitcoin or freeze that, or
no.
Yeah, so I was going to talk about this, but apparently I was on mute and I was trying to comment like an idiot with my freaking mic on mute. So blockchain has a benefit only when it's decentralized. Okay. So blockchain is basically a database that's just really, really secure. It uses much higher encryption standards than like a SQL database would, right? So if it's decentralized, that means every single person on the network has to play by the same rules. If it is a centralized exchange, it means everyone has to play by the same rules except for the centralized authority. They have basically lordship over everybody else on the network, and you're their little piggy, right? And so like this it becomes abusive if it's centralized is the problem. If people are expecting it to be a store of value, it now means you are subservient. You are a slave class to a master race is the problem. That's functionally what happens on the network, right? If they say you don't have money, your money's gone. If they say you do have money, you got a lot of it. If they say that you shouldn't have given this money to this person because it violated some rule they arbitrarily selected, jail time. Like so it becomes a abuse mechanism, not something that is a safety net. So I think that people ought to be really paying attention to push against centralized blockchain infrastructure, because it will enslave you is the problem. If it's decentralized, it will liberate you. And so this is the whole like the whole concept of like a knife is powerful. It can be used to cut food and prepare food and sustain life, or it can be used to take life, right? And so this is the exact same principle on a technological level. Of a blockchain is very, very powerful in that it can preserve life. It can make sure everyone's playing by the same rules, or it can enslave you. And so I want people to be liberated in their thinking to push back against this type of digital enslavement, because that's functionally what it will accomplish. Yeah. That's a little too real, but that's what we're looking at.
It is.
No, that's the truth.
You're going to see an attack, not just on Bitcoin, all the privacy, anything privacy. The guy who invented open source, the Tornado Cash, now it's been demonized, but he's in prison.
All he did was write
software.
Yeah.
Open source for anybody to use, including governments. And he's in
prison.
It's
like suing a knife forger. It's like, well, you're a smithy, you made a knife and it killed somebody, so you're going to jail. Right. Like, I made it for cooking. Like, what do you mean?
Right.
You ever heard of McDonald's being sued for
hot coffee? Yeah. That being said, that woman lost like major tissue in her lap. So that's a little cringy.
But excessive, yeah.
Hot.
But good stuff today, guys. This is a great show. We have so much more that we could be talking about on this, and we're going to continue on all of these stories. The Binance story is still, I think, in my opinion, just getting started. Obviously, this bill is going to continue to be a huge topic of discussion. We're going to unpack this as more and more comes to light on these topics. But guys, if you want to continue these conversations, make sure you go check us out in our Discord. The link is down in the description below. It's absolutely free to join. We'd love to have you guys there and grow our community in that way and show us support. But hit that like and subscribe. We'll be back on Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern time to talk about whatever's going on in the markets. But we can't leave today without going over our birthdays. We have Jake Gyllenhaal, who is 41, and then we also have Alyssa Milano, who's 49. Richard Hammond from Top Gear is 52. I thought he was older than that. I thought he was much
He goes
older.
fast.
Yeah, maybe he just looks older than that. But he's 52. And then Reggie White, the late great Reggie White, his birthday is today too. But then we also have, let's not forget, Nikki Hunter, who is 43 today. She is best known for Ace in Her Hole, Blow It Out Your Ass, Gag Factory 14, Lick My Ass, and Touch by a Trainee, and Fuck by a Dude. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. We certainly appreciate your support. We'll see you on Wednesday. Until then, keep calm and huddle on.
Huddle on, guys. Happy birthday, too.